Greetings, everybody. Nino the Mystic here, and welcome to Beyond Truth. How you doing tonight, Robert?
Doing great. Can't wait for this show. We got to do it fast because the news is changing so quickly.
Isn't it? We're only 1 week into the new year, and we got like all kinds of crazy stuff going on. I couldn't believe it. I mean, Trump didn't waste any time this year before he made some moves. We're like January 3rd, boom, people aren't even back to work yet. And boom, he's all over it. So that's what we're going to get into here tonight. Crisis, I guess, in Venezuela. Oil and how that's going to affect Russia and all this kind of crazy stuff. We're going to get into it tonight. So welcome, everybody. Sit back, enjoy, grab your favorite bevy, and let's do this. So what is going on, Robert? It seems like your country, because you're in the States, so we're going to blame you because you're American. What are you guys up to now, Robert?
Oh, we're the instigators and the bullies of the world. But hey, somebody's got to be. We're we're taking over Venezuelan oil until further notice, and and we're using their Navy SEALs to board ships and take control of vessels. Capture presidents off their thrones and bring them to the United States for trial for crimes against humanity, terrorism, and things like that.
Yeah, crazy. We were just, doing some research, obviously, before we went on here, and it turns out that the prime minister down there, or whatever they call it, he's been there since 2013. It's not like he was a new guy in there. So It makes me wonder, why did it take them so long to do anything about it? If there weren't to do anything, but yeah, oil tankers are getting seized, Venezuela leadership getting yanked into the U.S. custody, and the ripple effect, China, Russia, Ukraine, or even Greenland, because that's back in the talks as well now. And from the looks of it, he seems to be on a roll. So is Greenland next? You know what I mean? That's another question that we'll have here. But yeah, the oil tanker, so we all heard about, well, for those who haven't, I guess maybe some people have been under a rock here. It is only the first week. But basically the U.S. went into Venezuela and they took the prime minister, or whatever they call him, the leader, over there, and his wife. And not only took him, but they took him back to the States.
Yeah. He's in that country, he's a president.
President.
President elected, an elected president. So
yeah. He'd been elected since 2013, so it's not like he just got elected or just got in there and did something. He'd been there for a while, Yeah. So this is very unusual, very unheard of, I would say, of a country doing that and getting away with it.
Like we mentioned earlier a little bit when we were talking about what the show is going to be about. What if another country would do that to Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, any country in Africa? Even if it was a little country, say Greenland, and Russia would have went in there and captured their president or their prime minister or whatever, and took him to their country to hold him for trial. The world would erupt in chaos. There would be threats and nuclear weapons flying. There would be all kinds of stuff going on, embargoes, but the U.S. does it, and it's all good. People are waving flags and up and down the street.
Unbelievable. I mean, it shows you, obviously the U.S. Is and have been, the top dog, obviously for 250 years. That's their birthday this year, and the feeling is that the empire is about to get switched out. So, it makes you wonder, how is China gonna, react to this? How are they? We don't hear anything from them. They don't come out on the news. They don't go onto the social media and whine about things like we do here. So we don't really know what they're thinking.
Nina. China is controlling their social media. Those people know better. You could lose your social credit score. you could end up in the gulag. You would speak out against China. That's a no-no. And it's getting to be more that way. You speak out, if you were like in England, people speak out against stuff. They say things that really don't even sound so bad, and they end up in jail. And, how's it over there in Canada? It's kind of on the same,
Getting a little bit worried now. I've got to say, living in Canada, it does kind of feel like, oh boy, we might be next here. But anyways, let's try and keep on, the subject at hand here.
Well, it's a freedom of speech. If you control people's speech, you can get away with anything. And let's just bring in this. In today's world, you can make up a narrative, whatever you want, and have AI put in a protest and make a video of a protest. You can have it make people cheering in the streets. Woo! You don't even know if it's real. And you control the narrative. Free speech is twisted now.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunately is how it's have been for us for a long time. We just didn't know it. We just didn't realize that everything we're watching is all scripted, orchestrated to their narrative, to their agendas. And we thought it was all real-time news. That's all it was. No, that's not what it was. But now we kind of know, and now we have AI available to ourselves as well. So we can do this stuff ourselves now. I come to the point now where I assume that everything is. I'm not going to assume that it's a real person anymore. I'm not going to assume that it's a real event or that it's real news. So take everything with a grain of salt that you do see out there, because it is very, very hard now to figure out the truth, and that's why we're here, to try to figure things out as well. So stay with us here, but why don't we start with the oil tanker story? That actually was yesterday, was it not? So this is this is recorded a few days before this is actually going to be aired, so who knows what's happened by the time this does get air. But as it is right now for us here, that is the latest story of this oil tanker. Is it pirates at the high seas? This is a state level power, political with real consequences, it says here. So, oil tanker seizure. What happened? What does it mean? That's the thing. What exactly is going on here? So this is more Venezuela oil being taken by the U.S. as far as I can see here. I'm trying.
This wasn't. It wasn't a day thing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah, I'm trying to read here myself, because this story actually, you just brought this up. I didn't even know about this. I'm trying to read exactly what did happen.
You want me to tell you here?
You can. I said, it looks like Navy SEALs or something.
Yeah, the U.S. seized a Venezuelan oil tanker, including the Mariana or Mariner. Mariner, I don't know, which had been red flagged.
Marinara. Marinara. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever that
red is. Red flagged as a Russian during the chase. So it was reported by Reuters and CBS and the Financial Times. They all describe a weeks-long pursuit and seizure in the North Atlantic area, which means this wasn't an overnight thing. They planned it for weeks. Who did they get to do it? The Navy SEALs. Well, of course, that's the best trained.
Well, if you're at sea, that would be the people, that would do it.
And the U.S. intercepted it, and they took control of these vessels, enforcing sanctions and targeting what officials call sanction evaded. A shadow fleet. Ooh, it didn't make it even spooky. It was a shadow fleet running around out there. It was a cargo ship, for God's sakes. It wasn't a shadow fleet. You think those guys had machine guns on top of their cargo ship full of oil? That would have been silly and stupid. Well, what was Russia's response? Russia warned that this kind of seizure raises the risk of escalation at sea. Basically saying
remember, if you guys were watching last week's show, okay, which we basically were decoding the front cover of the economic magazine. If you haven't seen that, go and watch that, okay, because we do talk about cargo ships being of interest this year, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And now, basically, just days later, this happens. Now, this isn't a Trojan horse type of thing that we talked about there, but it is interesting that it is a cargo ship, though. So it seems to me that they're already starting this whole thing at sea. Yeah, like Putin had said, the risk of escalation at sea. Yeah, that looks like it's happening already. I wasn't expecting it this quick, though. So what is he saying? That keep doing this and you're going to get a naval incident. So he's basically warning the states, or anybody for that matter, I guess. You keep it up, right? And you'll find out. You know what I mean? Yeah, wow. So this is kind of like...
well, here's the thing, is in Venezuela, they have a lot of oil, and a lot of that oil goes to other countries like Cuba. Cuba gets all their oil from Venezuela, believe it or not. And other countries get that oil, but now the U.S. has taken over the oil and the exports, I'm sure, and everything else. And as long as they control that, well, those raw materials and supplies that may be going to other countries will hurt them economically and production wise. Like if that's whatever it was, oil or whatever, going say to Russia or one of its satellite countries, well, now they're going to be sitting there doing nothing because we didn't get the supplies we need.
Yeah, nothing says healthy international relations like two nuclear powers arguing over a tanker like it's the last parking spot at Walmart. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's kind of concerning how they're, what's happening here. Like it's happening fast, I'm finding. So, yeah. Now, there was talk of that when they went into Venezuela, that days prior to the incident on the 3rd, that they had already gone in there and seized a bunch of gold and silver. So this is a classic U.S. move, because this isn't something that a lot of people don't remember, especially the young people. They don't remember 20 years ago. U.S. did this 20 years ago. I remember seeing it on the news. You know what I mean? Again, there's the news, though. But that's all we had back then. And so, this isn't the first time that U.S. has gone into a country. And all those countries that they go into are usually the countries that want to get rid of the dollar, who don't really want to play ball anymore. They'll just go in there and take it. Yeah, that's what the U.S. That's a classic U.S. playbook, how it's been. And it's still going that way from the looks of it here. So do you have anything more on that gold and silver thing? Did you find out any more about that?
Well, it says that there's no physical proof that they took it, but it says here it's also contradictory with a lot of the reports saying U.S. troops grabbed the physical vaults of gold and silver out of Caracas when they went through there. It's just overseas assets, and if you're going in there, well, why wouldn't you take that? Especially if they were going to try to be part of the BRICS nations. You need, and according to the BRICS thing, you need gold and physical gold and silver to, be in the BRICS and trade with them. Because that's what they're going to trade with, gold and silver.
Yeah, so, essentially the dollars or the currency that we have in form of paper is not going to be worth anything.
Yeah.
So gold and silver is where it's at, and oil, of course. I mean, that's another resource. There's a few other resources as well, but yeah, that's, especially right now with the prices going up, as you've noticed, it's quadrupled, in the last couple of years here. So, yeah.
Who's it going to really affect? It's going to affect China. And when you start,
that's the concerning thing, is that are they doing this on purpose, to aggravate China? Or do they not know? I like to think that they know what they're doing, but
China has interest in Venezuela. They also have deep ties in the Venezuelan energy, which is the oil. And this they get a lot of their oil from Venezuela. And when you get that oil, you take it through what? The Panama Canal, which who controls the Panama Canal? You don't know
I
who
have no
controls
idea who controls
China. Bing bang.
okay.
We used
All right.
to, and then we gave it up to China and said, "You control the Panama Canal. Go ahead." So
Yeah, well, from what I've heard is that China has already sort of prepaid for this oil that they took. And so now you basically didn't steal it from Maduro, you stole it from China, essentially. Like you're really poking the panda bear here, I guess, eh?
Well, back in the day when Venezuela was doing good, they used their capital of all this oil they were sitting on, and China gave them money to get the infrastructure, build the oil wells, the oil lines, because you just don't drill a well and then pop, there it is, and you're pumping the oil. You got to have people and logistics and survey. An oil well costs $10-11 million or more. And who's funding that? Who's putting up the grub stake for that? It was China. You got to have roads to get to the oil wells. You have to have pipeline and things to extract the oil and get rid of the waste, and the work, it just goes on. And then you need ports with those cargo ship, the tankers, to come in to load up the oil to take it somewhere. Infrastructure. China paid for that, which also helps the people of the country, because somebody's got to do the work. Somebody needs to, you got to pump the oil. Well, you got to have electricity. You got to build a power plant. And if you build a power plant, well, you can use some of that electricity to light the houses of the people that are working there, and so forth and so on. You can use that for other industry, and that's where Venezuela was starting to get ahead. But then when the oil price crashed back in, I'm not sure of what year, oil went way down, and you as Venezuela still have to pay the debt. There's still debt there. And so literally all the oil went from $100 to $20 a barrel, and Venezuela, we're broke because all our money is going, all our oil is going to China, and we got nothing.
I remember when Venezuela went down. It was one of the sort of the first places where this happened, where what we're expecting is going to be happening to the rest of the world. It was sort of like a window to what it was going to be like, because their money all of a sudden wasn't worth anything, and you literally saw the money floating around in the streets, like it wasn't even worth wiping your butt with, you know what I mean? So I remember that. And so, so they've recovered, I guess, since then with Chinese money. So China's been investing in there because that's where they get their oil from. And now the U.S. just went in there and took it all.
Yeah, well, they invested. They were expecting it to get their money back in oil.
Yeah.
And now it's, somebody came in and said, well, we just took the oil and you don't have it anymore. Sorry, you invested poorly.
So I guess I'm assuming that Trump feels that, well, because they took the leader and the wife, that, they're going to get away with it then because, they got the leader. What are the people going to do? Right? Yeah. Did he not think about who has already invested into this? Like, or is he doing this on purpose? That's my question. Like, what is he doing?
There is a purpose for it, because if we claim that oil as our oil, then we could possibly not have to worry if there's a war in the Middle East. Because if there's a war in the Middle East and we get most of our oil from Saudi Arabia or Iran, Iraq, and all those other places, and they close the Suez Canal or all the oils go under fire or whatever, we don't need to depend on them anymore. We got Venezuela down there, and we got all their oil, which has just as much oil as Saudi Arabia does.
Right.
And it's closer. And so it's an easy win.
So they're securing their oil and whatnot here before they start making some real moves down in Iraq, probably is where they're wanting to go, right? So, and they have been for a while. So expect that to be happening here after this now. But my concern and my questions are, what's China going to do? What's their next moves?
You know, that's the thing. You as they say with the Russia, you poke the bear or you poke the panda. You poke the panda too much, and he's gonna bite you. And
he's gonna do
just like
something. You know, that's the thing. Yeah.
And if I always just put it as, if I were the other countries, what would I do? Well, first off, I know that I can't beat the U.S. They have more technology. They're bigger. You know, their army is more advanced, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't know.
But
is China thinking this? China, I think they got probably bigger armies. Their people are a lot more fit. They're a lot more on board with everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I wouldn't.
This is absolutely true. But at the point we're at right now, we're still on top. China may have more boats, they may have more men, they may have more area to cover, but it also maintaining that cost and everything is very draining. And we could fight a one front battle pretty easily. But if you start adding in multiple countries, war attacking us or whatever, well, we wouldn't probably fare so well.
Right. Well, that's the thing, and they got BRICS over there now, so that's a large countries, a lot of large countries involved there. So, but the question now is, you know, what will they do with Maduro now? What are they gonna do with him? Like,
well, they'll prosecute him. He could get assassinated in prison like Jeffrey Epstein. You know.
Now, the funny thing is, though, from what I read, is that they captured him and took him because they were upset about all the cocaine that he brought into the U.S., I guess, then, because he doesn't really care about other countries, I'm assuming, upset about the cocaine coming into U.S. But yet, I know for a fact that, like, Bill Clinton, he was heavily into getting cocaine into the country when he was a senator or whatever he was before the presidency. I can't remember what he was now. But yeah, no, most of these American presidents are heavily into cocaine. Okay, whether they're snorting it themselves or importing it in. So I don't know why this one is all of a sudden.
The CIA controls the flow of those drugs across borders.
Right. So why are they upset at Maduro with the cocaine when it's the CIA and doing it in the first place?
The American people have to have a good reason. You know, we can't just say, "Oh, you invaded the country because the guy he just wasn't doing what you wanted him to do." That would make no sense. People be like, "What? You told him to join us or die?" You know.
So blame on the cocaine.
Yeah, but what about the other countries like Colombia, Brazil? They don't produce any of those drugs. Mexico doesn't have any part of it.
And the U.S. loves it because they all do it. We've seen all these videos with all of them, with their snorting and they all do it. Yep. You know, it's rich people, to be honest, do it. Except for Trump. For some reason, he doesn't do drugs or alcohol. Good for him. But so I don't know if that's why he's all of a sudden, because I don't think the other presidents would have done this. Not for that reason. So that's going to be interesting to see. So is he going to get like the book on him then? He's going to get like put in jail here in the U.S.? Like, I don't.
And frankly, to put it, Maduro's a nothingness. They're trying to install a new president over there. They're going to, even Trump came out and said, we're just going to run the country until we can find somebody to get in there. And it's like, what? You're gonna do what? You're just going to appoint somebody in there? Well, that's like a dictatorship. I'm going to just appoint Joe over there to run the country.
He's like El Presidente over there now. El Trumpo, the El Presidente. I mean, I've seen all the memes. I mean, it's hilarious.
Venezuela great again, hey?
Oh my goodness! Yeah, now
I see them. Yeah. Mucho grande, great Venezuela. We make it great again.
Yeah, he's gonna make Venezuela great again. I bet you he's gonna put up a Trump Tower over there now. Any day, that's coming. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that he's getting away with it, to be honest with you. But Terrorism. Is it about narco-terrorism or is it about the oil? What is it about exactly? Right?
That's the thing. Again, chaos. If you can't pin it down, how do you know it's wrong? You get what I mean? Is it about the druggies? Oh, well, yeah, it's kind of. But is it about the oil? Well, a little bit. Is it about terrorism? I don't know, maybe. But
a little bit
which
of this,
one?
a little bit of that.
I don't know which one it is, so I'm confused. So I can't give you a decision because I'm so confused. I don't know.
Well, it's like people generally, we most of us have more than one motive, more than one agenda, and there's a lot of agendas being in play right now. So there's probably reasons that aren't even available to us that we don't know about. You know what I mean? There usually is other reasons why they're going down. Who knows what else they're taking that they have that we don't know about. You know what I mean? Yeah. So lots of stuff.
Venezuela is rich in gold and oil and silver and other materials.
Yeah, I've heard that they went in and took a bunch of that stuff before they even took the guy. Before they realized that they were in trouble or realized what was going on. Classic move. But.
Yeah.
And then the other question, or the question that we've had all along here is how's China reacting? They're obviously not gonna clap for this,
No.
Especially they already invested in this. I mean, yeah.
They're biting their tongue at the moment because they can't stand up to the US totally by themselves. And they need us right now, just like we need them. They need an income by shipping all those products over to the U.S. because all they would have to say is, we're going to stop delivering all the medications. We're going to stop delivering all your $2 products at Dollar Tree. We're going to stop, making all your lead acid battery. You know that we don't have a lead making facility in the United States. How are we going to if they just stop that, how would you run your car if there's no batteries? No lead acid batteries. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go?
I know. I've been saying this for a while now. Like, if China decides that they want to cut us off, no more ships, no more of the cargo ships, or we go back to the cargo ships, no more cargo ships coming from China. Yeah, that means all our like pretty much everything that we have in the store, everything you look at, it says made in China. Made in China. It don't matter if you paid $2 for it or you paid $40 for it. It's made in China, all right? And all our medications, all our technical stuff, all our tech stuff, electronics, all that stuff comes from Asian countries. And so if they decide that they're going to cut us off, we'll be cut off, and it will take us years in order to build up all the factories again and get everything, because we essentially outsourced everything. Is what we've done. And so,
And here's a good question for you. I mean, you've seen firsthand what happens when, they put a barrier on your border for getting products in or out. What's going to happen to the American people when all of a sudden the products aren't coming in and we can't get them? Will the American people say, oh, we'll build our own, we'll do without, we'll do whatever we got to do? Or are they going to say, come on, you just make a treaty with China and do whatever you got to do so we can get our $2 products and our medications and our, I don't know what to do with my car's broken and the transmission comes from China.
No, people are going to be upset, right? Because, we're used to being able to have access to whatever we want at any time. Like, literally get it delivered the next day. You know what I mean? So, the people are not going to be happy. And there's going to be diplomatic pressure, but there's going to be public, I don't know. This is where, riots and demonstrations, all the stuff that we've been seeing, up to now, I think that's going to escalate a lot. What else are people going to do? Take to the streets, to put pressure on your politicians, go to the White House, knock on his door and say, hey, we want our Dollar Tree stuff, so yeah, this is going to be interesting to say. I can't wait to see what China's response is. We can speculate. Obviously diplomatic pressure. Obviously, economic recalibration. I guess that's a nice way of saying what we just said, basically. And then, they're definitely not going to trust us. The trust has definitely been broken now.
It has.
With Trump. So I don't know what the relationship was before, but it's definitely, now we gotta, and then it makes you wonder, like, behind the scenes, what's going on there, you know what I mean? So, and then we got to get into, Ukraine, Putin, Zelensky. Does the war keep going, or does U.S. support continue? Because I know U.S., even though there are trillions of dollars in debt, right, and people are starving and homeless and everything else in our countries, because that's the same with Canada. And yet he has the money, though, to give billions of dollars to Ukraine to fund the war. Where's this money coming from? Like,
don't know, but it was just announced today or something like that. At least that's what I heard on the news. Proposing that the next budget bill or whatever funding for the U.S. government is going to be $1.5 trillion. That's double of what any other spending for the military ever was before in history. So there you go. That's where he's getting the money. I don't know where it's coming from.
I don't know where it's coming from
either.
Can you imagine if we, balanced our checkbook the way that, the government is balancing their budget? I know. Like, if you're in debt, you ain't got no money. You're going to pay that off first before you spend any more money. Like, that's how we were told, and that's how we've been operating. And our leaders, our country, so, it don't matter, whatever. Yeah, so this is going to be interesting to see how they react then, because maybe now they're not going to be getting their support, so they're going to be upset too. They're basically upsetting the whole regime here with this whole just this one move that they did. So I'm trying to see what else is on here.
Support these people. Give them a blank check.
Will the U.S. keep supporting Zelensky? I don't know. That remains to be seen. I'm trying to see what else we got here.
Yeah, well, we want to buy Greenland. How about go to Greenland?
Well, that's another
$1.5 billion and buy Greenland with it.
Oh boy, yeah. See, it definitely looks like they are going to be, I guess, negotiating with Denmark then, because technically Denmark owns it. But Denmark is a very, very small, tiny little country. Very, very small. And I can see them, doing it just so they can get more money, because they'll get a whole pile of money then, and possibly protection then from U.S. or whatever else they're going to give them more power, maybe more on the map, because like I said, Denmark is such a small little thing. So now all of a sudden Denmark is like a bigger empire than they have been before. I don't know exactly what they're negotiating with here, but I can see them doing it. Because they don't have the manpower or the capital to fight them off. You know what I mean? When Trump wants something, he's going to take it. That's just the way he is. And so
countries and people are learning by this example. Hey, if you don't do what they say,
right?
He could come down. He could snatch you up and hold you for
middle of the night, take you back to the U.S. and lock you up. Yeah, well, that's the thing. So it's a bully tactic, is what he's doing. I mean, they always have been. It's not just Trump. They've always been this way. This is how they've been operating all along. And so this move is probably, it's showing Greenland, but it's also showing Canada. Because I have a feeling that, we've been joking about this, but it kind of makes sense that we all sort of band together here in North America.
Mm-hmm.
It does,
Well,
from a military standpoint, I would say that does make sense, you
yes,
know. And
yes.
if
Well,
U.S. cuts Canada off, that's another thing. The U.S. has been our big brother and been taking care of us this whole time. They turn their backs on us, then yeah, we're not going to fare. It's kind of like Denmark. We're not going to fare too well. So
and you brought up a good thing there too. It's like, what's it going to happen when China does eventually invade Taiwan? That's going to come up sooner or later. It's going to happen.
it's going
And
to happen
if,
now.
if we don't go to rescue Taiwan, it's going to show the rest of the world that we're not. We could sign a treaty, but we're not going to help you. It's just smoke and mirrors. And Canada might look at that and say, well, if China's coming to invade, maybe we should go with China, because otherwise the U.S. will just come in and they won't even fight. They'll just say, well, they're only taking over Canada, and who cares about those Canadians? And
Well,
what?
that's true. That's the thing. Like Canada, people don't realize that a lot of Canada has already been bought up by China.
Mm-hmm.
But China owns most, like in Vancouver, as I'm on the west coast of Canada here, they own most of all the big top real estate is all owned by China. That's why our real estate went up so much. This is the whole problem with the real estate, why it all went up so much. It's because China, with all their money, and they bring all their kids over here, and whatever, anyways. And they own the ports, from what I hear. And they own this, that, and the other thing. They already own most things. So it would kind of make sense that Canada might buddy up with China.
Yeah.
They throw enough money at us and say that, hey, don't worry about the state. We'll protect you. Don't worry about him. Now we'll protect you. We'll give you all this money. Everything, you know what I mean? The cost, stimulate the economy and all this. And yeah, we might just say, oh, well, screw Trump. We'll go with China. And if that's the case, then that kind of goes, because if you guys didn't see last week's video, you need to see it. And especially if you haven't actually looked at the front cover, because there is China. He's all happy. But the Netanyahu, he was having a tantrum. So from the looks of it, from the plans when they drew that drawing, is that China's going to be on top. China's going to be happy.
Oh, yeah.
Israel, right? Not so much. So.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is if we take the Venezuelan oil, where Israel's located. You think Iran, their virtual enemy over there, or is going to sell them oil? Is Saudi Arabia going to shake hands with Netanyahu and sell him oil? No, because Israel is the controller over there. They want to take over those other countries.
They want to take over not going to sell them oil. To be honest, yeah, that's what they're wanting to do.
And who's going to sell them oil? If you're a fighting country, you're going to sell your enemy oil. You're going to get it from the U.S. We support Israel. We fund them.
Right
we
now,
give
yes.
them.
Right now, the U.S. is supporting them big time. If it wasn't for the U.S. support, they would be nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. So, if something happens to the U.S. where U.S. gets taken over by China or whatever, yeah, they're done for completely. So I don't know exactly. It's kind of looking that way here, according to some pieces, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this pans out. You know what I mean? So
it could be, everybody's picking a side right now. They're all trying to find who is going to help them the most, the strategic actions, and like you said, divide up the world. And we are, it's better for our benefit to control the North and South American half of the world than it is to go overseas and try to control something in the middle of Timbuktu. Is Europe going to stand up to Russia, all them other places, or are they going to just fold? I mean, they were conquered and occupied a lot of those places by Russia before. Who's to say that they're going to stand up to them now? And is Russia even capable? If they can't conquer Ukraine, well, how would they conquer these other countries? Is this just a big, giant distraction for the European NATO so they can't fight other wars and do other things. What do you think of that? Is it a big distraction?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I'm just looking at the whole Greenland thing here, and apparently they can't just go in and take it. It's a NATO agreement. So that's why we have these things, where we're banding together so that you can't just go in and do something like this, you see. And so I guess, Denmark is part of it. And so they can't just go in and take Greenland.
Yeah, but you never know what might go on. They might try to buy it. I read somewhere else where, it's owned by Denmark.
Yes.
But if we went on there and negotiated with Greenland itself, we could technically buy it from Greenland, even though Denmark actually owns it. Some kind of weird thing. But could it happen? Possibly. Would people get mad? Yes. Would NATO fight against the United States? That's the big question. Would they come down and fight against the United States?
Who, Greenland?
No, NATO. Would
NATO? Right.
NATO turn around and say, we're going to fight you, United States, for taking Greenland?
Well, I think that's kind of what would happen if they did try to go and just take it. They would then have to, deal with NATO. There's agreements that have been done. They can't just do that. So, but according to what I'm reading here is that, it isn't Greenland's solo decision. Greenland can't just go and do that. I think it's a lot of it has to do with NATO itself, so it would have to be if it was a joint decision.
NATO gets funded a lot by the United States, mostly by the United States. And then you have the European countries over there. Would they turn around and fight us? Because if they started fighting us, we wouldn't support places like Ukraine. That would cut off all their support. They're getting their right now. All the oil has been cut off from Russia to these other countries because that's where they were getting their oil and gas from. That big pipeline they blew up. Well, all of a sudden, they're depending on the United States now for this oil and gas. Now, if we go ahead and they fight us, are we still going to sell them oil and gas? That would be stupid. Are we going to still do trade with they would collapse under their own weight. They have nothing. They have no minerals. They don't have the oil fields. They don't have that stuff. They depend on us. And NATO would fall apart because they don't have the money to, fund NATO. It would collapse in a hurry. So their best interest would be maybe putting sanctions on the United States or, some other things. But fighting us? No. We could walk in there, take Greenland tomorrow. They would all be pissy and mad, but nothing would happen.
Yeah. It almost makes you wonder, why even bother having these groups, and sign all these things and you feel like you're protected, but not really. It all comes down to who has the money and, who can buy who off. And, it's just so silly, the whole thing. But
these places have gotten in with the other guy. You want to become a BRICS nation? No? Okay, well, then you can't get supplies. Okay, well, maybe I should become a BRICS nation. Well, if you're fighting the United States and you're fighting BRICS, well, you're not going to get supplies. You're not going to get oil. Oh, my gosh. You got to pick. It's coming down to picking sides. Are you going to be on one side or the other? Which one do you need to survive? And who's going to pay the price? Not the big country itself. It's going to be the little people like you and me. Hey, I went to the gas station. I can't fill up my car with gas because, the U.S. cut off gas, and now gas is $40 a gallon, and you'd be lucky to have enough to run a generator to run your lights at night or something because it's all done. Can't go to work.
It's gonna be interesting to see how I can't wait to hear what or to see what China does. Because that is going to determine a lot. Because BRICS might just take over. You never know. Yeah, but the big picture is how to tell. Markets tell the truth faster than politicians, which is true. And that's why we've been watching the gold and the silver, you know. Whenever the gold goes up, and we've been saying this for years now, if it goes up to like 5,000, oh boy, we're on the brink, and we're just about there now. We're at 4,500, you know what I mean? Like we're just about, now the gold is shooting up. Or sorry, the silver's shooting up big time. And I knew that was also, it's going to be out of this world how much it's going to go up. People don't realize how good their investment is, you know, for those who have invested in it, how much is, you know, because they're going to need more of that silver. They need silver for all these tech things that we're doing. All these data centers are coming up now. They need silver for this stuff. So they're going to need a lot of it. And so that's going to go up a lot. So kudos to all of you who invested in that when it was $23 and whatever, you know what I mean?
Silver is at $76.56 as of right now, and gold is at $4,483 as of right now.
So it's almost at that mark of 5,000. Is kind of what we had in our minds back in the day as to when things are really, and they are. I mean, you know, even those who are choosing to stay asleep can't really deny what's happening here. You know what I mean? So.
Well, you just have to go down to the grocery store and try to buy stuff, or you know, I feel bad for those places that are getting those data centers. You know, when those what kind of data are they collecting that they need these giant, enormous places that consume water and electricity like a giant city does? And you're going to put them in the countryside where poor people are living in their little farmhouse trying to raise a few cows or something. And now their electric bill is, you know, $900 a month because they want to turn on a light bulb and have a freezer and a refrigerator. Just a thought.
Yeah,
you know, who can afford that? What are we the people going to go backwards and become a third world country because they put in a data center? This makes no sense either. Or the big thing is will they come out with a new type of generation of power? That's the only thing that I can surmise that may be possible.
Well, I mean, again, go back to the front cover of the economic magazine. I mean, China's smiling. So it's telling me, you know, they're telling us, they're telling all of us, because this is how they tell you stuff before it happens. You know, one of the ways. It looks to me that China's the next new empire. You know, and even if it's not taking over, it will be par to par with US. Yeah. So, and that's going to obviously upset other people. You know, like Russia is warning about conflict at sea. So that's those container ships. Now look out for, you know, Trojan horses there by using those container ships to do that, to take over smaller countries or whatever. You know what I mean? Europe is taking troops in Ukraine after the ceasefire. You know, treaties are nearing expiration. So what does that mean? Nearing expiration? That means we got to do something about it. So it's you
know, I got a thought. You know, I was listening today, and they were talking about, believe it or not, this is not even fake. You're gonna say right away when I say the name of it. The Boston Dynamics has unveiled their version of the Atlas robot for 2026. Atlas robot, you get it? Atlas, 3i Atlas. Now they have the Atlas robot for 2026, and it's ready to go. The company says that their final production version of the robot is now being built, and the first companies that will receive deployments is Hyundai, Boston Dynamics majority of his shareholders, and Google, DeepMind, and the firm's newly minted AI partner. You know, so the thing is with this Atlas, there's several things that could go on with this. They could use this Atlas robot. I don't know if you've seen this thing, but it looks very humanoid, and it can do lots of things. You know, it's almost like having a person there. But it's going to be in production. The memory and stuff that a robot will have is like your computer. Without the internet, your computer is almost worthless. And so those data centers may run all those millions of robots that come out. Or though we may need all those data centers to run all those millions of robots that they're going to make to go as troops at war. Because how easy would it be to take one of those robots, put a gun in its hand, and send it out on the field, or put it in a tank so it could drive, or
well, I think that's the idea, is to make these super soldiers, right? And so why sacrifice our own young men and women, I guess, with boots on the ground, when you can use that makes sense to me. I mean, so that's a good use of it, I would say. And there's pros and cons to these robot thingies, and also, like, if we do have to now start production and that kind of thing, factories, and I'll go back to all of that kind of stuff, it won't be you and I working in there. It will be robots. So that's, in one sense, that's a good news, that, hey, it's not you and I going back to, slavery and the sweatshops. We'll have bots to do that for us. But
that also takes jobs. It takes jobs away. Here, listen to this.
It's going to take away jobs. Yes, big time.
You're kind of right on a lot of this stuff. So here, hang on. It says here, the final enterprise version of the Atlas can perform a wide array of industrial tasks, according to Boston Dynamics, and specifically designed on consistency and reliability in mind. Atlas can work autonomously by itself with no help, or via a teleoperator, or with a tablet steering interface. So that means it'd be just like the movies where, I'm going to sit in the seat and I'm going to control this robot that's, 200 miles away, and I can march into war, and it's just like I'm there. And then when my robot gets blown up, I get another one, and then I march that one out, and then I get another one. Or can you imagine, you're going to have a job at your home, at your computer desk, and you can work 3 or 4 of these robots, and you can stack boxes, and you'll never even have to get out of your seat in the morning. You can sit there and have your cup of coffee and go, "Yep, I just stacked 400 boxes. I'm tired. I'm taking 5, guys."
I mean, look at it from the military standpoint, like you were just saying there. You could be operating these things from a distance. Well, why do you think my kids' generation in particular got heavily into video games? They were literally being trained, to remotely do all these. Because what are video games? They're all shooting. It's all military shooting. Multitasking, being able to do like several things all at once. I never forget the day that my uncle realized, because he used to, laugh at my son, because he would be playing a video game over here, then he would have social media over here, and he would have something else over here, and then you got your phone on top of that, and he would do everything all at once. We're used to doing one thing at a time. That's it, and yet, but that generation, my kids' generation, the young generation, were trained to do all that, and that's what their jobs are going to be. So instead of being out there, boots on the ground, or you're at home on the computer doing it, and you can, like you said, you can probably operate numerous bots. One's over a factory here, one's fighting a war over here, and one, who knows, or one's manufacturing something. Well, so the future is going to look a lot different.
I totally get it. It's kind of like a self-driving car. They say, it's self-driving, but it's not really. You got to get in there, and you kind of got to pay attention, but the car avoids all this stuff, and it gets better and better all the time. But, you still have, it says you're supposed to still pay attention, for the wheel, just in case, and so forth. That's kind of what the robot, you're going to assign the robot, go stack those boxes. Robot 2, you go, and if the robot's doing something wrong, you can kind of correct them. But you could run 3, 4, 5 of them at a time, 10 of them, 100 of them maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. There's always going to we're going to have people to operate, and oversee. But the majority of the grunt work, I guess, will be done by robots. But there'll be a couple of engineers overseeing it. That's kind of how it's going to be in the future. So the good news, I guess, if you want to say that, is that we don't have to do it anymore. You know what I mean? But the bad news is that we are losing jobs. So there's that. So, but the good news also is, or the trick is that for those of you sitting here fretting the future, the trick is to get ahead of the game, find out what's coming, and then you figure out how you can implement that, how you can do that job, and what is going to be needed, and do that. right? You might have to forget about what you were trained to do prior to this and look into what is going to be needed and go there and do that, to ensure that you have a job. You know what I mean? So do that instead of sitting there worrying about your job. You know what I mean? Because some of it is good. A lot of the things, people go to work and they hate it. They absolutely hate their jobs. They're miserable, So the good news is that we don't have to do those jobs anymore, but you do need to figure out something else to do. So, get on that. So, yeah.
Safe jobs. But I do feel bad for some of these people. Like, it's starting to take over jobs like truck drivers. They're programming these trucks to run autonomously. But then again, we're hiring people from other countries. The illegals that came over here that can't speak English, read English, and then they get in truck accidents and stuff like that, and they go, no English, no
speaking English. Yeah, I know, right? We noticed that here.
Stop sign and you run into the 3 cars and killed 2 people. What do you mean you didn't read English? You couldn't understand their language.
Well, here, I hate to say it, but everybody, you go into the local Walmart here, you cannot find a white person working there at all.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the restaurants around here, no white people. And yet this is a white community. Okay. And I'm not, being a racist or anything. It's just like, where's all the white people? Why aren't they working?
Put it this way, it was a white community. And now
it wasn't white community, not anymore. No. And same with truck drivers. You cannot find a single truck driver around here. I would bet you $1 to find a white truck driver. Good luck. Mm-hmm. They're all brown. Everybody's brown around here.
Just wait another 20 years, and all those people who came here will have children, and those children won't be white. And the white people who are here don't have jobs. They don't have the children, and the society will be so changed up in another 10 or 20 years. If you could go back in time, you wouldn't, or go ahead in time, you won't even recognize it.
Well, that's happened everywhere now. Europe is completely overtaken by immigrants, and same with here, so we've kind of given away our jobs already to other countries, essentially, so, and we're not having enough children here. The birth rate is low and all of this. And so I don't know, we've kind of done it to ourselves. That's the thing, we've done it to ourselves. But anyways, I think we're just about at that hour mark, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know it's precious. You got a lot of other things that you could be doing. So I do appreciate you guys sticking it out this far. So, any last minute things that you want to wrap this up with here, Robert?
Well, don't worry, stick around and the news will change really fast. By the time you get done listening to this, it'll probably already something new and wild and crazier than we even said will probably have happened.
Yeah, maybe we'll know more about what China's next move is. It's like watching a chess players here, with the big board game going on here. What's the next move? What are they planning on doing now? But it is interesting that we just did that show on the front cover magazine, and then the next 2 days later or whatever it is, now all of a sudden cargo ships and threats of things happening at sea is already out there. We're only a week into the new year. And so here we are. I didn't think it was going to be that quick, but here you go. They're not wasting any time from the looks of it. So if you haven't seen that one, go back and watch that. I do urge you guys to watch all the shows, because quite often it'll blend into the next show, or we'll talk about it, and that way you'll know exactly what we're talking about and be in the loop. You know what I mean? So there's all kinds of playlists up on YouTube, or you can go to, of course, Forbidden Knowledge Network on all the major podcast platforms and listen to us if you don't have time to actually sit here and watch. I know a lot of people prefer to just listen now while they're working or doing whatever. So you can go there, Forbidden Knowledge Network, on all the major podcast platforms. And you can find me, of course, YouTube and Instagram. I'm not sure about Facebook. It looks like the last episode I did one reel from last week's episode. up on Facebook, and boom, my channel got taken down, or my page got taken down. So I'm still waiting to hear back from them as to whether or not they thought that that was going against our community guidelines. Although the short that did it was us talking about Bezos and Musk about their rocket ships. I mean, we didn't even say anything bad about them, but for some reason, Facebook is really finicky that way. So you know what? Even if I do get my page back, I don't think I'm going to be going live there anymore. And I don't think I'm even going to put up shorts from the shows because it's going to trigger something over there. So if I do get the Facebook back, it'll just be a platform for me to just advertise that the shows are coming, me telling you that, hey, we're going to be going live pretty soon, that kind of thing, just as a reminder platform, basically, is what it's going to be. But YouTube, Facebook, and the Instagram is all at Nina the Mystic 68. Okay, so I do urge you to go over there and subscribe and follow, okay? And then once you're in the YouTube, you'll find all the links for all the different platforms. I upload to Rumble and Odysee, and then it goes to Bitchute, and all kinds of places to find the shows. And also there's links for ways to support if you would like to. We do have a merch store with 3 different channels merch in there, so go and check that out. Robert's got his in there, and so does Arwayne Steiger, as well as, of course, Beyond Truth got their own merch as well. So if you would like to support the show, that's a great way to do it and get yourself a one-of-a-kind item. And of course, we got a PayPal. You can always give us some donations. That's always appreciated as well. Everything makes a big difference. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for hitting that like, sharing this out, and I think that's all we got for you guys this week. Stay tuned, because we got a lot of great shows coming up for you. So with that, I think we'll say goodbye. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.